Hey guys, welcome back to 90 Feet from Home. I'm your host Ashley, and we're just going to jump right into it today and talk a little bit about the new rule changes that you will see in baseball in 2020. So I have hinted at a lot of these throughout some of the videos from the past year about things that are going to change and be different coming into the 2020 season. So I thought it might be helpful to kind of round everything up into just one video so you have a sense of what things are going to change in the 2020 season so that those new rules don't feel quite so shocking when they come up. And some of them aren't things that you're going to see day to day on the field, but stuff that's changing the way the structure of lineups works, or the way that certain pitchers can be used. So let's just jump right into it, and here are some new rules for 2020. Starting right off, the active roster is going to change from a 25-man roster to a 26-man roster, which means every single team in baseball is going to have one extra player at all times. The other thing that's going to change with rosters is that instead of expanding to 40 players in those extended September rosters, it will actually cap out at 28 players. The latter part of this is going to be less impactful than it seems. I know it seems like a huge drop. That's 12 fewer players the teams can extend to in the September rosters, but most teams really didn't use that full 40, so giving them an extra 2 players when they already have one extra throughout the entire season is probably all that most teams are going to need. I'm going to throw my video up on those extended rosters so that you have a sense of what they're used for, but really it was just an opportunity for maybe players that they wanted to see tested at a major league level, or perhaps extending to have a few more players in the bullpen or an extra utility player. That's really what those expanded rosters were used for. Limiting them to 28 players I don't think is going to have quite the impact that it seems, even though it is a really reduced number from 40 to 28. When we consider the 26-man roster instead of the 25-man roster, I know that only seems like one extra player. And in all honesty, it really is just one extra guy, and I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in how we see day-to-day play going. It kind of gives teams an opportunity to carry an extra utility player, just adds a little bit of extra safety to the bench. Most teams were able to bring up an extra guy in the case of a doubleheader anyway, so I don't think you're going to see too much change in how baseball runs just because they have an extra guy on the bench than they might usually. Another new rule now is that teams actually need to label whether their player is a pitcher, a position player, or a two-way player, meaning they are a position player and a pitcher. And in order to qualify for that two-way player label, player must have had at least 20 innings pitched and at least 20 games where they've started either at a position or as DH, meaning they've had to prove in a previous full season that they've played both as a pitcher and as a position player. Now, this is important because there's actually going to be a limitation as to how many pitchers a team can carry. And this exact number I don't think has been set quite yet, and once it is, I'll probably do a video on it, but it'll roughly be about, I think, between 12 to 14 pitchers that a team is allowed to have. So that number isn't set yet, but having that as a restriction is what's causing this new labeling. So teams need to set what these different players are doing for the team. What's funny about this is that there really aren't that many two-way players in baseball. Off the top of my head, I can think of 2. Shohei Ohtani of the Angels and Brendan McKay of the Tampa Bay Rays are the only ones. Now, there are other players, of course, being developed for this kind of role, but the true number of players who are able to actually master both positions, pitching and playing a position on the field, are very low and very rare. So I don't know that you're going to see a lot of two-way players tagged this way. And also, in spite of this labeling, position players will still be allowed to pitch in situations where it's needed. So late in games, extra innings, blowouts, where teams want to save the arm of actual pitchers, you're still going to be seeing guys come in from like a third base or utility player position to pitch those innings, which frankly is one of my favorite things about baseball. So if they took that away from me, I'd be very sad. So I'm glad that that's not going anywhere. Really, I think the only outcome of this is going to be that teams are going to be wary of whether or not they label a player as a two-way player. And that's really the only impact this is going to have, because they don't want guys taking up pitching space where they're just going to be used as a position player. So aside from that, I don't see this rule changing much at all when it comes to how players are used. Now, this one is pitching related, and this one we talked a little bit about, I think, in one of the videos I filmed, probably something about pitchers and pitcher roles. Wow, I haven't even done 100 of these and I've already forgotten the content of half of them. But I know I mentioned this, and that is, oh, you know what? It was in the loogie video. I'm gonna throw that one up top there. Aha, I do remember what I've done. The loogie will basically cease to exist in 2020. The loogie, if you've forgotten and don't feel like clicking the link I just shared, is a lefty one-out guy. I know. Basically, this is a player who was used to come in for one single out or perhaps back-to-back outs and then be pulled himself in favor of a more long-term reliever or a different type of reliever. The reason that the loogie is kind of going the way of the dodo is because the new rule in baseball is that a pitcher must face at least 3 batters or make it to the end of the half inning that they've been brought in for. And I believe the real reasoning behind this is a pace of play thing, because baseball was getting sick of having 16 different pitchers being brought in one game. I know that's an exaggeration, but it does feel pretty lengthy when you have a guy brought in for 1 batter and then they have to change the pitcher and then they get a guy out. And it's exhausting. So basically with this new rule, and they did kind of flirt with the idea of it being only 2 batters that they needed to get out, but for right now the rule is 3. And it's not actually that they have to get all 3 batters out, they just have to face 3 batters. So either they have to face 3 batters or they have to make it to the end of that half inning. So it's not like if they get brought on and there's already 2 outs and they get the 3rd out of the inning, that they then have to come in for the next half inning and get the next 2 outs or face another 2 batters. It's not the case. If they come in, they get the final out of the inning and they're done, they can be done. So in that sense, they can still have a loogie. But most likely you're going to see guys come to extend their roles and be good at more than just 1 batter out. So that's kind of how that one works. And I feel like I fumbled over that a little bit. So just to clarify, a relief pitcher must face at least 3 batters or complete the half inning of work. So that's not 3 outs, like I said, I think at the beginning. Oh my God, Ashley. So they have to just face 3 batters. If they accidentally come on and they're terrible and they walk 3 guys in a row, they can be replaced at that point. So it's not like they have to stay on there until they get 3 outs. It's just that they have to face at least 3 batters or however many batters it takes to complete that half inning. So that one I think will actually have an impact, and it's going to change a lot, especially about how managers use their bullpens. And you're going to see, I think, these pitchers really have to extend their role slightly and learn to do more than just one thing. Another rule change is related to the injured list, and I'll throw my video up for that. And this one specifically relates to pitchers as well. Now, the 10-day injured list, which in and of itself is a fairly new thing, will be extended, and actually it will be a 15-day minimum on the injured list exclusively for pitchers. So basically, that's exactly what it sounds like. If a pitcher is injured, their stay on the injured list will go to 15 days minimum, whereas a position player will still be able to be placed on a 10-day injured list. That's pretty self-explanatory. This will actually also impact assignments, designated for assignments, because that will also be extended from a 10-day minimum to a 15-day minimum, just for pitchers. So that, in a nutshell, is all the new baseball rules for 2020. Stuff that won't really impact, I think, the way the day-to-day game is played so much, but we'll see. I mean, it may change things drastically. The pitching rule for the number of batters faced, I think, is going to be the one that you're going to see the most immediate change to how the game is played, though I don't suspect it's going to make as big a difference to the pace of play as the commissioner's office might have thought it would, but we'll certainly see. So with that, that's new rules for 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to give it a big thumbs up down below if you did. While you're down there, remember to hit the subscribe button and click the bell if you want to be notified every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday when new videos go live. And of course, I always welcome your comments down below. You can follow me on social media where I'm at 90 Feet From Home on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I look forward to our next video. We'll see you guys back soon. Thanks so much for watching.